What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Uncle Fred back in the house one more again, giving you a little bit of content. Go ahead and hit that like, comment, and subscribe, and become a part of the Uncle Fred Sports Experience. Uh, I guarantee you, you will not be disappointed. All right, so what we're going to do today is just going to kind of give you sort of um, a review or a preview, if you will. Not a preview, but an overview of the NFL free agency over the past. It's been a wild week, man. That's all I gotta say, man. It's been a wild week. Bunch of guys moving. I mean, each day there was something bigger than it was the day before. Each day you think it can't get no better, and it get better. And like I said, this is probably the most eventful free agency period. I don't want to sound like a recency bias, individual, but I've been around a minute, and I've not seen this much movement. So many jaw dropping deals and numbers and stuff has passed. Money just finished changing hands this free agency season more than I've seen pretty much any other free agency. So let's kind of drop. Let's just kind of go back. We know it started off on, I think, the last Sunday. Saturday, I think Amari Cooper got traded, which I talked about that in depth on my Cowboys video. And then right after that, they promptly signed Michael Gallup to a 5-year, $62.5 million contract. And that sort of stuff went on. And then, of course, Wednesday was the Randy Gregory signing, then unsigning, then going back to the Cowboys, then going back. And I talked about that in depth. 5 years, 70 million, 18 million guaranteed on that. We get to Thursday, the 10th. So we get Khalil Mack going to the Chargers. Yeah. And see, I had hopes that the Cowboys would get him, but he went to Buffalo for 6 years and 120 million, like 51 million of that guaranteed. And I talked about that and my disappointment in the Cowboys didn't make a run at him. Might not have took that much to get him to the Cowboys. They could have might have structured it where the money per year might have been the same, but maybe not for that many years. But he didn't. But he's with the Buffalo Bills, and so hey man, I ain't mad at him. Do what you do, man. My boys didn't take a swing. You can't fault people that's swinging for the fences. You still got your bat on your shoulder. Can't fault him. But that was a big deal. I'm like, wow, 6 years, and we know he's not probably gonna play 6 years. But hey, man, that's his second big his second $100 million contract because he got $100 million after the Super Bowl. And he's been hurt a couple of years, and I think he ended up with 9 sacks last year, which is not a good year for him. It's a good year for some other guys, but so Denver gets Randy Gregory and Von Miller. So yeah. So wow, that's just crazy. So Friday we find out that the Harris County Court failed to find and reach an indictment on Deshaun Watson on his criminal charges. So essentially, they dropped all those charges. They couldn't find enough evidence through the grand jury that was enough to indict him. So that started a feeding frenzy for him. So we'll talk about that later. So that was on Friday. So and then of course on that Saturday, which I kind of ahead of myself. Saturday, Amari Cooper traded to the Cleveland Browns for 5th and 6th round picks. Yeah, I kind of got ahead of myself there in the wrong week. But anyway, he got traded for 5th and 6th round picks. Like I said, right after that, they picked up Michael Gallup. And I would have liked for them to have maybe given Michael Gallup a little less money and still signed Cedric Wilson. But, whatever, man. You do what you do, man. Do what you do. But I hate that Amari Cooper left the Cowboys, but hey, he got a quarterback now, so we'll talk about that in a minute. And then on Sunday, Selection Sunday, we find out Tom Brady's coming back. And just like he upstaged the NFC and AFC championship games when he announced his retirement the first time, he upstages Selection Sunday, which all those NCAA teams that's waiting to see if their name's going to get called for the 68 team NCAA tournament. By the way, how y'all bracket looking? I got Gonzaga and Arizona in there, and maybe Duke, but I'm digressing. But yeah, he upstaged that to announce, oh, I'm coming back. But I got my own theories about that. It has to do with Brian, the coach of the Dolphins, Flores. I think it has something to do with that and him being fired. And I think that he was supposed to have went to the Dolphins, but that didn't happen, and that got blew up. And so he tucked tail, went back to the Buccaneers. So the Buccaneers made some moves too. Just heard today, Leonard Fournette went back for 3 years, $21 million, and Russell Gage went there from the Falcons. Ryan Jensen goes back, lost Ollie Marpet. He retired right after Brady. And so then they signed Chris Godwin. They signed Logan Ryan, from the Giants, safety, good player, good solid player. And so they made some moves there. So that's definitely a Tom Brady effect. But yeah, he goes back to the Buccaneers on Sunday. So Tom Brady back in the NFL, and the Buccaneers are right back in the playoff hunt and are one of the Super Bowl favorites in the NFC. I got some thoughts about that. There's been some people going back and forth on that. Man, what he's an attention whore or something. But look, man, if you like playing football and you love playing, you're still good at it, man. Play till you can't play, man. I just quit messing with the emotional strings of folks. Just play, you ain't gotta, I'm gonna go. No, I'm gonna stay. No, I'm gonna go. No, just if you want to play, play. Ain't nobody mad at you. Just play, And he played, what he throw for 5,300 yards last year and 43 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, something like that. Completed like 66% of his passes. Yeah, at 44. Yeah. Second to Aaron Rodgers MVP voting. Yeah, man. Yeah, you can still play. So moving on, and then we find out, we come in on Monday and we find out that of course Jarvis Landry of the Browns gets cut, released, but there's been talks that he may go back. And there's some other teams, the Chiefs made some other wide receiver moves and stuff. So and maybe the Ravens and some other teams that had looked at him. We'll see. But when they got Amari Cooper, that kind of made Jarvis Landry expendable. We'll see. So maybe the Cowboys might pick him up, but I'm digressing. But then, man, this is the thing that get me, that Jacksonville start making some moves. Jacksonville, the team with the number 1 pick in their trial draft, I think they went 3-14 last year. They made moves, spent over $200 million in free agency. Yeah, Trent Baalke ain't playing. All right, Trent Baalke and Doug Peterson, they ain't playing. Okay, I don't know if the Jacksonville Jaguars gonna make the playoffs next year, but I guarantee you they win 5, 6, 7, or maybe 8 games. You heard it here first. Okay, because you got a Super Bowl winning coach that knows what he's doing. Kind of had a little bad run the last couple of years at Philly. Then they ended up adding what's the guy's name? Brandon Sheriff from the Washington football team, Washington Commanders. They end up getting him. They end up getting Christian Kirk on a 4-year, 72 upwards to $84 million contract with about $39 million of it guaranteed. They end up getting Evan Ingram. They end up tight end from the Giants, on a 1 year, $9 million contract. They end up getting Darius Williams, cornerback, starting cornerback for the that was of the Los Angeles Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Rams. Goes back to Jacksonville because he's from there. He's a Jacksonville native. So they made a lot of moves, yeah, they made a ton of moves. Jacksonville did. Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram, Darius Williams, like I said, and then they added a couple of offensive linemen, and then they also they got the number 1 pick in the entire draft. So, and then they also got Cam Robinson on a franchise tag. So their offensive line looks to be with Brandon Scherff, Cam Robinson, and probably Evan Neal, if all my draft indicators come in, who they'll probably draft in the first round. Number 1 pick, big tackle out of Alabama, the bookie in the other side. Look, man, I think they're gonna be, they're not gonna be 3-14. I guarantee you that. And they may. I'm not saying they make the playoffs, but they made some moves. Then Tuesday, like I said, like I said, I was a week ahead. Randy Gregory switches from the Cowboys to the Broncos, and then then Von Miller. Then on Wednesday, this is when the stuff gets real. Wednesday, Chandler Jones goes to the Raiders from the Cardinals on a 3-year, $51 million contract. Okay, $19 million of it guaranteed, going to the Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders. All right, and then they also trade Yannick Ngakoue to the Indianapolis Colts. Okay, for Rock Ya-Sin, who's a cornerback. So they get Chandler Jones and Rock Ya-Sin, corner. So they get those two. They make another move here in a little bit. I'll tell you about it. Okay, on Thursday, here's the deal. They get Devontae Adams from the Green Bay Packers. Probably the biggest. This was one of those moves because nobody saw that coming. Because when Aaron Rodgers signed his, they talked about Aaron Rodgers getting his 4-year, $200 million deal, which ended up being a 3-year, $150 million deal. It was thought to be, well, they're getting ready to do, but at first they were saying they were going to franchise tag Devontae. And Devontae said, no, because you should have tried negotiating with me last year and whatnot. Don't let me get all the way to the end and then expect me to work on a franchise tag or expect me to take a hometown deal. We let all my years run out. So he found him a deal with the Raiders on a 5-year, $142 million contract. Woo, that's $28.5 million a year, highest paid wide receiver ever in the history of the NFL. And 123 catches, 1,533 yards, 11 touchdowns. Okay. And it was understood or thought that Aaron Rodgers knew of that deal. And maybe they decided, look, man, you do your thing, I do mine. Because it's believed that the Packers had offered to match that and did match it with a little more. But I think either he didn't like the way that the Packers was dealing with him and how they, they're handling the things. I think they kind of got the mantra, we'll trade guys a year or two before they end up trading them for a first and a second. To the Raiders, and then for first and a second, and then of course I think they get like 23 and like 23 and like 59 or something like that. The first and the second, pick. So they got 2 firsts and 2 seconds now. I'm guaranteeing the Packers getting them a wide receiver in the first round this year. I guarantee you that one. And there's a lot of good ones coming out this year, whether it's Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Jameson Williams, London from USC. There's a good Burks from Arkansas. There's a bunch of wide receivers that's coming out this year. So, we'll see what happens. But I'm almost guaranteeing they pick one. So that was, we nobody expected that. And then, so now you see the Raiders pick up a corner, Sin. They pick up a pass rusher, Chandler Jones. We'll get into the different breakdown of the division later, and then they get Devontae Adams. Raiders ain't playing either. So and then on Friday, this was the one. So you thought all the other ones, the Chandler Jones and the Von Millers, like, wow, look at those moves. Then, here come Devontae Adams. Like, man, this stuff is wild. Then we come to find out after Deshaun Watson had, found himself cleared. There's all these teams was in the running. It was Carolina, it was Atlanta, it was New Orleans, it was Seattle, it was Cleveland, all those teams. And then, Cleveland made no secret that they was courting him, even though they got a quarterback on their rosters, a starting quarterback anyway. So Jimmy Haslam and Andrew Berry fly down to Houston to talk to him, but apparently he didn't like what they were saying. So Houston they said Cleveland is out. So basically it was New Orleans and Atlanta, and I couldn't see Atlanta because Atlanta really ain't got no assets. They really need their draft picks. They can't be giving up 3 first-round picks or 2 first-round picks or whatever, and they already don't have a whole lot of weapons. So I just really didn't see that being a pick. Other than that, it's like it's other than it's 40 miles from where he grew up, and that's home. And if he's planning to be there 4 or 5 years, maybe year 3, maybe they can put together something with him. But I feel like New Orleans was the first. But then Friday, we get the news: Deshaun Watson signs with the Cleveland Browns for 5 years, $230 million, with every penny of it being fully guaranteed. This deal has a chance to set the market because I've noticed a lot of the contracts as I've been looking at them. These contracts have been coming because the NFL has been coming under a lot of scrutiny because it's been the most dangerous of all of the sports, well, maybe other than hockey. And they have the guaranteed money in the contracts was once upon a time non-existent. But now, as you see these contracts come about, you'll see a Von Miller sign a $120 million contract with $51 million of it guaranteed, meaning they cut him the very next day, he still gets $51 million. Okay. So, that's nearly half. It's like 40-something% of the thing is fully guaranteed. So you see certain contracts, and then you got a certain portion of it's guaranteed. Christian Kirk signed a 72 upwards to $84 million contract with like 39, almost half of it fully guaranteed. We've never seen a contract in the NFL that's fully guaranteed. Now you can see that in baseball, you see that in the NBA, but you never see that in the NFL. And that led to, and I know I'm sidetracking here, but that led to a very interesting discussion that I heard on the Odd Couple, Chris Broussard and Rob Parker, when they was talking about that while they liked the deal that Deshaun Watson got, they kind of felt like Patrick Mahomes should have got that deal. That his agent should have, which is Lee Steinberg, if I ain't mistaken, should have gotten, because Patrick Mahomes is kind of the face of the league, and if anybody should have got a groundbreaking, industry-changing deal, it probably should have been him. 3 years, in his first 3 years in the league, he's got an MVP and a Super Bowl win, a Super Bowl MVP, and at the time signed the most lucrative contract in the NFL history of like a 10-year, like $500 million contract, but it's got a lot of outs in it. When you start examining it, it's really Kansas City Chiefs friendly. He should have got the fully guaranteed deal to set the mark because he should have been and I kind of agree with that, but I ain't mad at Deshaun though. Now, a lot of people are going to be upset because of what he, is supposedly accused of or whatever, but if, hey man, people have done worse and still got contracts. Whatever. It is what it is, man. It is what it is. And it goes back to what people always say. If you can play, you get second and third chance. You can't play, man, they don't want to see you. If you can play, you're going to get a second, third, and a fourth chance. If you can't play or if you washed up, then they, it's just, and people want to make it be about athletes, but it happens in the secular real world too. If you're a stock trader and you the best in your business, they'll overlook you being late for work. They'll overlate for you coming to work drunk or whatever. They'll pretty much, But if you're a guy barely making it, and you can't do it. So it's the world's kind of like that. It's talent. Talent trumps everything. If you got talent, you probably can get away with some stuff. If you just barely getting by, you probably got to dot every I and cross every T. So that's just kind of how life. And then we're moving on. So, but Cleveland sent Houston 5 draft picks for Deshaun Watson. I've never heard of a team giving up 5 draft picks for one player before. They gave up a first round pick this year, first round draft pick next year, first round draft pick in 24, 22, 23, 24. And then a 4th round pick in 23 and a 4th round pick in 24 and a 5th round pick in 25. I think I got that right. Let me see. Because I wrote that down because I could not believe. So first round pick in 22, 23, and 24. A 3rd round pick in 23 and a 4th round pick in 24. It's a lot of draft capital. Okay. Good thing is Deshaun Watson got, a pretty good receiving core. He's got Amari Cooper, but he's also got Rashad Higgins. He's also got Donovan Peoples-Jones, and he's got David Njoku at tight end. So, and then they're pretty good. They lost Trotter at center, but they got a pretty good offensive line and a good running backs. And their defense is pretty solid with Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward and Newsome, and so then they got what's the kid's name from New England to play linebacker? Minkowitz, not Ninkovich, but they traded him for Mack Wilson, who goes to the Patriots. So he's coming to. The good thing is their team is already pretty good, and they're not gonna miss the draft picks, because they got a 2nd round pick, this year and next year and whatnot and whatever, but to fill in some stuff, and sometimes you can fill in the gaps and stuff with some 2nd and 3rd round picks. They probably gonna need another receiver, But like I said, they got them guys plus Anthony Schwartz, probably the fastest dude in the NFL, next to the Cheetah. So I mean, look, man, really the Deshaun Watson thing really could be a video all in itself, like I did one on Calvin Ridley. I could probably do a whole video on Deshaun Watson and what that deal means as it relates to other potential contracts. Does this set the mark? Is this bad for football? This sort of thing. What does this say about women? That sort of thing. Because I got another idea about that. It might not be too popular, but I think I'm gonna do a video on that. But there's some things I'd like to get off my chest about that. But Deshaun Watson, man, 5 years, 230, fully guaranteed. And they even made the first year where he only counts like $1 million versus the cap, because they kind of felt like they may end up suspending him some for this year, and they kind of they wanted to get mess with none of his money. So man, that dude, I can't think what his name, his agent, that's agent of the year right there. He pulled that off. But in reality, Cleveland was looking pretty embarrassed because they had pulled the cover off themselves going to meet Deshaun in public knowledge and of anybody that knew. And then when he said no, they kind of had to go back and see him and beg. And what will it take? What will it take to sign for you to sign? What will it take? And plus they had to see what it would take from the Houston's perspective in order to let him out his contract. And the thing about it is he hadn't even served the first year of his 4-year, $140 million contract. And they just tore that up and just start over. Man. Okay. So anyway, so that's what's going on there. And then I would find out Saturday, Matthew Stafford gets a new contract. Like he's like $160 million. A lot of that guaranteed. He's going to retire in Los Angeles Ram. But I didn't like their second move, because that second move was they traded wide receiver Robert Woods to the Tennessee Titans for a 6th-round pick. And I thought my man said them picks, but he got a 6th-round pick. And Robert Woods, we know, had an ACL tear like game 9. I think the same week OBJ came that same weekend, tore his ACL in practice. I like Robert Woods. Robert Woods, a great route runner, good precision route runner, runs strong, runs tough, makes good, tough, congested catches. And if the ball's going to Cooper Kupp on a flanker screen and he blocking, you better keep your head on a swivel because that dude will lay you out. He loves to block, kind of like Hines Ward. Likes to knock guys out so that's a good guy to have in your locker room. And I can't believe I would like to see the Cowboys have gotten him for a 6th-round pick. Could have did that. Rams do pick up Allen Robinson from the Bears, 3-year, $46 million contract. Now, I like Robert Woods better than Allen Robinson. I'm sorry. Allen Robinson is supposedly a good receiver, had some good years in Jacksonville before he came to the Bears. Had like a so-so year with the Bears. He's okay. But I like Robert Woods better than that. I think they're not going to be as good with them. And then still they got to find out what they got going to do with OBJ and Aaron Donald, which still got to get their deals done. So we're going to see what happens with that. But that was Saturday. Then on Monday, we find out, which was yesterday, we find out that, with all of that going on with Deshaun Watson, now your boy Baker Mayfield demands a trade. Cleveland's like, we ain't giving you no trade. And then they signed Deshaun Watson. So basically saying, yeah, I guess we will trade. But with Baker Mayfield's, I don't know, I call it some immaturity. He going back and forth with reporters, all it, like he got to win, like my man Colin Cowherd said, he has to win the press conference when the media is asking him questions. He has to win. He can't just no comment or say, you know what, man, we just try to do the best we can. We're looking forward to the next thing. He has to go back and forth with them. And I think him having to do that all the time turns a lot of guys off, a lot of teams off. So what ended up happening was, so it was thought that he was going to go to the Colts, but the Colts pulled a fast one. They get Matt Ryan. Yeah, I said it. Matt Ryan from the Falcons. Matt Ryan kind of had sort of an off year. Matt Ryan's pretty consistent though. Matt Ryan threw for 3,968 yards this year, 20 touchdowns, 12 interceptions on a bad Atlanta Falcons team. Bad on offense, bad on defense. Just a bad team. But they won 7 games, though. But I'm telling you, they won 7 games because they got Matt Ryan. Okay? So basically, the coach decided, Frank Wright said, I think we'd rather have Matt Ryan because he's what? Say it with me, people. He's a grown-up. Okay? The ultimate professional. Of course, now I don't, and now some people got them as being Super Bowl contenders. I don't know if I see that. I see them seriously making the playoffs and maybe winning a game or two. It ain't like he's Peyton Manning coming in there and whatnot. Now, back in his early day, we did call him PMJ, Peyton Manning Jr. We did kind of call him that back in 2008 when he got drafted. We thought he was Peyton Manning-esque, So, he's prototype, 6'3", 6'4", 220. Don't move much, very accurate, smart, don't make any mistakes. Always the ultimate consummate professional. And I think he's in the mode of what's the guy they got from the Chargers. But he's in that same mode, and they had better success with him as opposed to with Carson Wentz. But this marks the 6th consecutive season that the Colts will start the season with a different starting quarterback than the one they ended the year before with. And they, just like Denver, got everything in place. Got the best running back in football. Well, him or Derrick Henry, either one. Jonathan Taylor is a ball star. Don't start getting it twisted. They got good receivers, tight ends, best offensive line. Them in Cleveland, and then they got a good defense. They got Yannick Ngakoue. They add to their pass rush to go with their, Brockers. And so they got, they got some personnel. So all they need is some stability quarterbacks, a guy to get them in and out of the right plays, make the right throws. And I think Matt Ryan can do that. Now, they're not winning no Super Bowl because the AFC is stacked. and I'm going to talk about that in a minute too. So Atlanta Falcons got a hold at quarterback. Well, maybe Baker can go there. No, we're going for Marcus Mariota as backup quarterback for the Rams. What? You mean to tell me they would rather have Marcus Mariota than Baker Mayfield? Now, if I'm Baker Mayfield, I ain't exactly mad at that because you go from a team with all the talent that they got at Cleveland, and if you're healthy this year, because we know he wasn't healthy a good bit of this year with the labrum and the foot injuries and different things, you go into the Falcons. Falcons are in total, how my man Shannon Sharp said, total scorched earth. They're starting over. They taking the paint off the wall, chairs, tables, roofing. They rebuilding everything, starting from scratch, taking it down to the studs, basically. And if you a quarterback that's really got your eyes on, doing some things, you don't want to go to a total rebuild. That's a total rebuild, okay? And so some of the other moves that was made, because now Deshaun Watson move prompted some other things, and also it a lot of people were in the free agency were waiting to see where the shoe dropped with Deshaun Watson before they signed, because Terran Armstead, the Pro Bowl All-Pro tackle for the New Orleans Saints, was prompted as projected as the top free agent, but he had not signed with anybody because he wanted to see if they were going to get Deshaun Watson. But since they didn't get Deshaun Watson, he promptly signed with the Dolphins, okay? Along with Connor Williams, along with Kenneth Edmonds, along with that's it. Connor Williams. Yeah, it is Connor Williams, Cedric Wilson, Connor Williams, two Cowboys, and they got Terran Armstead, and then so the Dolphins are doing some things, man. They're doing some things. So they had one of the worst offensive lines this year also. So they got probably the second or third best tackle in the NFL. Connor Williams can block, but maybe with some good teaching, some good offensive line coaching, maybe he can eliminate them 13 holding calls he got, and I think 2 or 3 illegal hands to the face penalties. He got 3 or 4, 2, 3 of them because he played for the Cowboys last year. That's how I know that. And Juju Smith-Schuster shines with the Kansas City Chiefs. And I think he's last year of his deal. He's going to be a free agent next year. So, and that helps Kansas City kind of keep pace with the rest of the AFC West. And I'll tell you about that in a minute. And so today, the big free agency news, like I said, Terran Armstead, but then today, Zadarius Smith, which I was hoping the Cowboys make a run at, signs with the Minnesota Vikings on a 3-year, $42 million contract. Previously, he had signed with the Baltimore Ravens, where he came from. I think they may have drafted him, but they were looking at him for a 4-year, $35 million contract. And he signed for them for 3 years and 42, which is like $14 million a year, versus 4 and 35, which is essentially $8.5 million a year. So, yeah, that's definitely a better deal. And of course, now if you're Dallas, you're like, man, we was gonna give Randy Gregory more money than that, and he's got like 30 sacks, 32, 33 sacks. Randy Gregory got 16. And they had carved out 5 years and $70 million to pay Randy Gregory. And he signs for 4 and 3 and 42. So anyhow, and then some side ones. Robert Tonyan goes back to the Green Bay Packers. Well, you lost Devontae Adams. I guess you better sign this dude back. He had 11 touchdowns in 2020, and only had I think 2 last year. But he missed a lot with the ACL tear. He's coming back this year, and so so anyway. That's pretty much all the things. That's pretty much all of the major free agent movements of the last week and a half. But here's what I was going to talk about today. A couple of things. The AFC West. I'm going to tell you the AFC West because you know about the Chargers. They ended up getting Khalil Mack. I kicked it off. Then they got Sebastian Joseph Day. Then they got J.C. Jackson on a 5-year, $82 million contract. Then they got Austin Jackson from the Giants. And so, yeah, and then they re-signed Mike Williams. The Chargers are not playing, okay? They got dual pass rushers. You know, you got Bosa on one side and you got Khalil Mack. Yeah, they're coming for Patrick Mahomes. That's what they're coming for. They're coming, okay? They already had, good, line and receivers and, whatever. And then they end up signing the kid from Seattle as tight end. So their tight end is set now because Jared Cook, many believe, they're not going to resign. He's a good tight end, but Jared Cook been on like 7 teams since I can remember. Gerald Everett, that's the guy that they got from the Seahawks. Gerald Everett. Seahawks, just like the Falcons, a total rebuild move, pulling it down to the studs pretty much. Okay. So the Chargers aren't playing. No, they just missed the playoff this year. They will not miss the playoffs this year. Book it. I see 12 wins for them. But not only them, we talked about the Broncos getting Russell Wilson. That's win-win. That's a team kind of just like the Colts, got anything but a good steady quarterback. Now they got the steadiest, the most the mobile, smartest, clutches quarterback in the NFL in Russell Wilson. They also got DJ Jones on a 3-year, $30 million contract from the 49ers to shore up that defensive line. And they also got Randy Gregory, which we, sour grapes for me because that was our guy. So they got Randy Gregory on one side, Bradley Chubb on the other side. And back in the secondary, you got Justin Simmons. And then you got Patrick Surtain. Yeah. That defense was a number 3 scoring, number 3 scoring, number 4 yardage. I might have that backwards, but it's a top 5 defense in both categories. And then they added Randy Gregory and DJ Jones. Yeah. I think they were 7-10 or 8-9 this year. I can't remember, but they were right there, a couple of games out of making the playoffs. They will not miss the playoffs this year. Book that. Then we look at the Raiders. The Raiders did make the playoffs by a game, beat the chargers last game of the season on the last second kick. They pick up Chandler Jones. They pick up Devontae Adams, okay? Rock Yan-Sin at cornerback, okay? So the Raiders got Crosby on one side, okay, and got Chandler Jones on the other side. Seeing in the backfield, and of course, then on offense, they're gonna be able to move the ball because they got Devontae Adams, they got Hunter Renfrow, they got Brian Edwards. In the backfield, they got Jacobs. Yeah, Darren Waller at tight end. They're going to make the playoffs. Could this be the first time that all 4 teams in the division make the playoffs? Could that be? Half the teams come from, you're going to have 4 division winners, the other 3 coming from that division, and the other 3 just be division winners. Could that be? It could be. It could be. Top that, hands down, AFC West, best division in the NFL. Okay. All right. Best division in the NFL. Now, the Chiefs, this is who everybody's shooting for. All them teams got a bullseye in their locker room with Patrick Mahomes' face on it. And they're throwing darts at it. And so the Chiefs, they get Justin Reed, a safety for 3 years, $31 million. They signed Juju Smith-Schuster to show up that other side. They've been trying it with Byron Pringle, who goes to the Bears to replace Allen Robinson. And they go with Nicole Hardeman to go on the other side of Cheetah. So Juju Smith-Schuster will show up that other side. And I think they still got Marcus Robinson too. So, and they still got Kelsey. So, Chiefs ain't going nowhere, but all I'm saying is they coming for them. That's all I'm going to say. They coming for them. Now, the other divisions that might have a say in that, the AFC North, look, the Steelers going to be the Steelers, okay? Because we know what they did. They got a standard. And they got Mitch Trubisky, which I think is an underrated move because he's athletic. He's got a good arm. He's smart. He does a lot of things. There's a lot of creative things you can do with a mobile quarterback with a back like Najee Harris. He's got ways to keep guys and the defensive lines from keying on him. The mesh point, you don't never know who's going to have the football because you be thinking Najee got it and Trubisky's 30 yards downfield with the football. That little hesitation for the defensive line, and then when you do hand it to Najee, he can get, if he get past the initial line of scrimmage, he's getting 8-9 yards because he's just that kind of runner. That's an underrated move on their part. Okay, so they got him. They got a couple of offensive linemen, one from the James Daniels, I think, from the guard from the Bears, and the center. I think his what is his name? Cole from the Vikings, along with getting the cornerback Levi Wallace from the Bills. So look, man, if they ever have gotten the offensive line correct, I mean, and they lost the receiver, they lost James Washington, they lost Juju Smith-Schuster. They still got Deontay Johnson, still got Chase Claypool, still got Ray McLeod. I think Ray McLeod comes up on the line, and they're gonna draft him one. They'll draft him. So the Steelers they made the playoffs last year on the last thing. I think the Steelers still make the playoffs. Then Baltimore's gonna be Baltimore. They end up getting Marcus Williams from the Saints on a 5-year, $70 million contract. Safety, probably the best safety or top 3 safeties in the NFL. They get him. They did have Sindarius Smith, but it went a different way. And of course, they're going to get Peters and Humphrey back at corner. L-Jack is going to be back, and his normal, doing what he normally do. So I look for Baltimore to bounce back. Cleveland, we don't know what they're going to do, but you got Deshaun Watson. All right. So that's going to be. And then Cincinnati went to the Super Bowl, and they end up revamping their offensive line, getting one guy from Tampa Bay, Kappas, and then Karras from New England Patriots. And so to go with my man Lyle Collins, not from the Cowboys, to go with Jonas Williams, on that offensive line. So I think they're going to be, they may not win 12, 13. I think they win 11, 12 games, 10, 11, 12 games. So it's possible for all 4 of them teams are playoff eligible. The AFC is going to be a grinder next year. And we even talked about the AFC South with the Colts, and then, Tennessee should be back because they added Robert Woods to go with A.J. Johnson, A.J. Brown. Okay. And they got what's the center from the tight end? Austin Hooper. Picked up Austin Hooper from the Cleveland Browns. So Tennessee, and they're getting Derrick Henry back. So Tennessee not going nowhere. And so, the Colts and Tennessee, I ain't got much to say about Jacksonville and Houston, although I know Jacksonville will be better than, of course, the AFC East. I think New England, with Buffalo got Von Miller and O.J. Howard, and they got players, So AFC going to be a gauntlet, but I'm telling you, the AFC West going to be number 1. NFC North should be number 2. The AFC South should be, I don't know. I'm going to say maybe AFC East because Miami's going to be much improved. I don't know about the Jets. I think New England's going to be, because you got Belichick, he's going to, do some stuff and whatever. So, we'll see. But, man, now, closing out the thing, we're going to talk about pro days they had today. Yes, Monday and today. Yesterday was Kenny Pickett. He had some nice drills. There's a lot of people. Matt Rule was there. I don't know if Mike Tomlin was there now, but I think they've seen enough of him since he's in Pittsburgh. I know Matt Rule and some other people were there, and he made some throws. Like he did 56 scripted throws, did some things. But all everybody was talking about, man, his hand is 1/8 of an inch bigger than it was at the combine a few weeks ago. Yes, 9 5/8 now as opposed to 9 1/2. So, yeah, that's all they were talking about, his hand size. And I was noticing a lot of the women reporters giggling, talking about his hand size, his hands. Stop it. Stop messing with that man's hand size. Okay. Now I don't know what he did to get his hands bigger. Maybe even hanging out with maybe been hanging out with Nick Foles. I'm gonna leave that alone. Leave that alone. But yeah, he had a good pro day. He's projected as a top 20 pick in this year's draft. So we'll see what happens. We know Pittsburgh got the 20th pick, and we'll see what happens with that. Today, Malik Willis had his pro day for Liberty College, and there's about 120 people there, representatives from all 32 teams there, including Mike Tomlin, whom he had dinner with yesterday. Malik Willis was surprised that Mike Tomlin ate chicken wings. Yeah, what you thought he ate? Caviar or something? Dude, he's a dude. He eat what everybody else eat. But he did. They said he had a dazzling scramble drill, 65-yard throw to the receiver, hitting him in stride at the goal line. So he made a lot of throws, had a lot of ahs, a lot of smiles from a lot of the people. He's projected as a top 20 pick as well. And with all the attention Mike Tomlin's giving him, it's either he. I know some people don't want the Steelers to pick quarterback in the top pick because there's going to be some better drafts with better quarterbacks, but they like what they saw with Malik Willis. They like what they saw with Kenny Pickett, and they thought those two might be the top picks in this year. In the first round, were their first round picks in this year's draft, which is I think April the 28th, if I'm not mistaken. But don't sleep on Matt Corral from Ole Miss. He can play too. Them three. I don't know about any others, but Matt Corral of Ole Miss, Kenny Pickett of Pitt, and then Malik Willis of Liberty should be the pick of the litter. But yeah, they had their pro days today. So when the draft comes, we'll see where they draft, how they fall in the draft. But anyway, that's all I got today. Just wanted to give you guys a little bit of the free agent stuff going on in the NFL, man. I'm telling you. And it's a few more free agents still out there. Stephon Gilmore ain't been signed. Julio Jones ain't been signed. Dwayne Brown and some others, offensive linemen ain't been signed. Melvin Gordon hadn't been signed. Melvin Ingram hadn't been signed. It's a bunch of them still out there had not been signed. That's just off the top of my head that I know of that they're still out there. Bobby Wagner ain't been signed. Okay, hope he go right there. That's what I hope, but probably not. But anyway, that's all I got from the desk, Uncle Fred. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I'll be giving you some more videos, probably one or two every week, as more things become. Then we're going to give you something big at the draft and tell you who the winners and losers of the draft. And so these things are forthcoming and stuff, plus some other sports news, NBA, and some other things. It's just a few things off my, and I'm thinking about still doing that Deshaun Watson deal video. We may do a video on that to let you know what Uncle Fred's perspective is on that. But that's all I got. Please like, comment, subscribe, become a part of the Uncle Fred Sports Experience. I guarantee you will not be disappointed. That's all I got. We'll catch you guys in the next video.